Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of Dark Matter Episode 8, Jupiter. So, this episode is like the Multiplicity movie with Michael Keaton, where we're going full on bunch of versions of Jason's we're seeing here. There's some like unintentionally funny moments in this episode. I still really enjoyed the episode, but there's a lot here that I kind of giggled at. Like Daniela when she goes to check on this Ryan now that has a great haircut that creator Jason gave him, so he's really good at styling hair. But you see that Danielle's like, "Do you really think you're a mechanic?" And he's like, "I am a mechanic." Like those kind of moments, and he even recognized Daniela. I guess both Daniela's, the one from his world, had a Civic as well, so that's how he'd recognized her from being taking care of her car. So it's just funny to see it as his girlfriend Mindy and Danielle are just looking at this guy who's lost his mind thinking he's a mechanic. Now, our Jason is in a hotel room. He's taking out the knife that he had just bought, so it's telling us it's that Jason, but I still got confused here at first. It wasn't until second watch I fully got a clear picture. I was even fooled by all these Jasons, because when he sees the other Jason in the hallway, I was like, is that our Jason? And then it just kind of got wild from there. And while this is happening, the creator Jason is in his garage trying to get rid of the body of another version of himself while his son just wants deep dish pizza. Now, our Jason sits in a pub with this new Jason we're meeting who went through the same experiences he did. And he says, I guess this was inevitable. Different versions of us would spawn in the box. So that's why we're seeing all these Jasons now come through that box to this Chicago. And our Jason says every choice I made in there created a different Jason, and then so on and so on. Because then those Jasons made choices that created other Jasons. That's why there's so many of them. It's interesting to note, though, that this Jason we meet, he has a scar on his head, and he says that his Amanda, he lost her in a very dark world. There's been allusions to a very dark world. We have that mentioned by the creator Jason earlier in the season that he was somewhere that was really bad. But we also see that Leighton came out of somewhere, the original Leighton, where he's all bloody and messed up. And that's another thing. Just want to point this out while I'm thinking about it, but it's going to be interesting to see how in one episode we can kind of wrap up. There's still so many characters just out there, like the Blair that we have in that world with the big giant bees. And then there's different versions of Ryans out there. I still want to know what's happening with these other two Leightons. So there's a couple things I hope kind of get resolved in a way. But you see that both of these Jasons, and we know really all these Jasons that are coming in, have the plan to kill the creator Jason. And that's when this new Jason's like, we all want the same thing. We all want our family back. We all want our life back. So they all think of themselves as Jason 1, not the other Jason. And he's like, we can't all be Jason 1. This was wild. And this Jason says, I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm not going to let anyone get in the way of me being with Daniela and Charlie. So now our Jason's not only fighting through the creator Jason, but he's fighting through all these versions of a very close version of himself that all want the same thing. Now, and I'm talking about unintentionally kind of hilarious scenes. I just started laughing how ridiculous this scene was with him smoking a cigar in the diner to all just lure Daniela to him where he can talk to her, and him getting arrested and her bailing her out. Now, you might say, why didn't he just call her and tell her to meet in a private place? Again, he didn't want to risk having the other Jason even get a whiff of what was going on. But it just, doing the cigar in the diner thing to me was just silly. It was pretty random. Now, creator Jason takes Charlie to the University of Chicago, and I just thought this moment, he even says it to Charlie. Charlie acts so weird here when he talks about how he would regret if he had never gone to that party and met his mom. And he's so mad, Charlie. Like, he just can't take this idea of his father's whole life hinges on a freak accident. It was just strange how, like, aggressive he was about this, hearing this as his son. I thought that was so odd. And he even says it to him. But it was weird. But at the same time, he's being followed by another Jason that has scarring on his face. Props to Joel Edgerton, not only emotionally showing different faces and feels to these Jasons, but also physicality. You could even tell with the scarring Jason that he had a limp. So he did a really good job at playing these similar, but a little different. And you see that this Jason catches up to the creator Jason, and they go at it in the bathroom, and he uses a knife on him. So this creator Jason is just confronting many Jasons, and they all have knives. But he also leaves a dead version of himself in the bathroom stall. So it's all stuff that's just setting up, like, you can't even fix this mess that is in this world now for both Jasons. How do you recover from this? Now, while this is happening, Daniela breaks into the storage locker, finally sees photos of her and her son from this, like, stalker angle from that Jason, and that he was using the different currency. And we see he has a ton of ampules still left. and she finds Ryan the mechanic jacket. It is strange, though, how Daniela just goes through all this and we're waiting for her to find out information and catch what's going on to just be told by our Jason. So you almost like, what was even the point of her seeing all that information in the storage locker if she was just going to be told the next scene about everything anyway? So I did think it was a little disappointing how she found out everything and that it would just be that way of someone telling her. And when our Jason sees her at the police station, I just still feel like, I know he's in a rush and things are crazy, but I wish there was more of an emotional beat here of him seeing her. There's a little one, but for it to be the goal of him getting back to her this whole time, and it kind of just felt a little flat in that moment. But not only does he tell her about what's really going on, but that there's also other Jasons besides this Jason that she's been fooled by. But they set up the meeting, which is going to set up the end of the episode with the safe word of Jupiter, which is also the title of the episode. And we'll then see Daniela has this game she's trying to play of trying to get to Charlie without getting caught telling him what's really going on by this super paranoid creator Jason. And she literally pushes him down the stairs, which was crazy. Now, Charlie goes with her in the car, and they jump in the car with another Jason. And remember, our Jason told her there's other Jasons, so she catches on right away that this isn't their Jason. And then they crash into another car, which is driven by another version of Jason, who is a deep faked Joel Edgerton. You could tell in the eyes. So they definitely had a stunt guy that day, and they had to place that face on him of Joel Edgerton. It just still is not there yet, that technology. So that was another thing I kind of giggled at. But we see Daniela and Charlie get to our Jason. He says Jupiter, and they get that real feeling of reunion here. This had a better emotional beat with him hugging Charlie than we did see in the police station with him first seeing Daniela. But overall, I didn't think this episode was that great. I thought it did leave me still excited, though, for the next episode to see how this all gets resolved and how we're going to get Amanda back into the picture. And she, remember, still has 2 ampules left. And where is everyone going to go here? And where are all those Laytons, those Ryans? What is going on with Blair? I almost feel like we could get another season out of this kind of story. So I wonder if they're going to set up another season, even though this is probably towards the end of the book. But I wonder, because it seems like there's so much left to resolve here, which also makes me a little worried in that sense too. But this episode had a lot of those silly moments. It was still fun, though, and entertaining. But it did feel a little disappointing. And I think the biggest thing for me was just how Daniela found it all out, where her whole storyline was trying to figure out what was going on. We're waiting for her, and for her to just be told by Jason and not connect the dots herself with Charlie. It was just like, oh, okay, you know. So a lot of that time spent on her figuring out clues for just being told is really kind of lame. But I'm going to give this episode a 7.2. Decent, but not my favorite. But it still gives me hope for a good finale. And it was still exciting, and it was fun to see these different Jasons kind of going head to head. But let me know what you thought of it down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts or theories, what you thought about the episode. And please check out my interview with Jennifer Connelly, which will be linked in the comments below. And please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my review of the next episode and other shows I do as well, and celebrity interviews. And I'll see you next time.